Well, hello and welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and see what we can get into. Let's get into some monsters.
High Desert is a great American sound system. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in all the for the first time zone. I'm Mark Bell, and the program you're listening to is Coast to Coast AM. And you never, ever know, nor do I most times, what's going to be on this program next. Tonight is going to be very, very interesting. Potentially very interesting. From the beginning, because I understand a lot of you would have missed some of it, and we can, of course, get it now in more detail. So, what he was describing may not turn out to be, but it sounded to me like, and in fact, what we discussed last night with Mothman and all the rest of it, Mothman really is a monster, isn't he? Mothman is a monster, and so I thought, I have never opened a monster line. Therefore, I would ask any of you who have encountered what you would consider to be a monster. That's a broad category. Monster is a big category. If you ever actually and truly encountered what you would call a monster, then I would like to hear from you tonight as the program progresses. Tonight as the program. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello. Good morning, Art. Good morning, sir. This is Pat from near San Francisco. Yes, sir. Back in the late 60s, got out of the military and went to work for one of the big companies in the San Francisco area. And I had a bunch of women working for me. 19 of them. 19 women. Yeah, they were a pretty good crew. Like a little family. They were good. They really did really efficient work. Everything was going fine. And this one new gal, all of a sudden things started going to hell. Sick leaves went out. People started making a lot of mistakes. I started getting a little concerned, started really paying attention to my flock. And we associated this with the addition of the new one. The only thing that was different. Okay. And I watched her one day towards break time. She was kind of wandering around through the work area as if we see a dog cutting sheep or cattle off a herd. Oh, sure. She was doing just like that. And she was backing this one gal up, and this gal was really right. So I started off in her direction. This gal, that was frightened, she had her hands up, and this other one was reaching for her. About the time I got to her, I turned her around, put my hands on either side of her head, yes, and she had this real funny reaction. She lost all the color out of her face, the knees buckled, she hit the floor. I told her if she ever did that again, I was going to finish the job. Just after that, a woman from another area came walking up to me. She claimed she was a witch. And she said this gal that I had just dealt with was a psychic vampire. A psychic vampire? I'd never heard of it before. This is the kind of thing that you get for working with so many women. Well, this is the first time I ever ran across her. You've got a psychic vampire, you've got a witch. And that's a pretty small scale to come up with. In the San Francisco area, you got a lot of people who want to look up for you. All right, so she was a psychic vampire, and the witch was helping you out by telling you this. Well, she was telling me what the story was. She apparently was attempting to deal with it, and apparently, well, hey, someone was messing with my particular flock, and they were doing good work up until she showed up. So how angry you calling them your flock? Well, so she was virtually feeding on your flock. This is what I was told. So what happened? Well, she left a couple days later. Everything finally settled out and returned back to normal. I've heard of psychic vampires. Did you have a funny look on her face when she was backing the scale up? Did the members of your flock have any comment on this woman? Yeah, they started talking about it afterwards. They started telling myself and a couple other people they were scared hell of her. I mean, were their energies depleted? Were they psychically affected in some way? Records went up enormously after the scale showed up. And it was almost as if I had an epidemic on my hands. And your production numbers, no doubt, fell like a rock. Well, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, I guess the situation cleared and it was okay after that. Yeah. It was a new one on me. I'd never heard of it before. As a matter of fact, I never met a witch before in my life. So, a witch would know. Yeah. Believe me, a witch would know. Well, that's an amazing story. You're not employed there any longer. No, I'm not employed there any longer. Got long in the tooth and retired myself. I see. But that's one to remember. It's one that I put in a basket that I have labeled. I haven't got the widest idea what it's all about. Mm-hmm. Do you often tell people about this? No. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you telling me. All right. You have a good one. I shall. Yeah, that team women. I don't know. We call them Miss Flock. Psychic vampires. We have done a little bit of talk about psychic vampires in the past. They're an interesting group, and they do appear to be real. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello. Yeah. First, I was over at my friend's house 2 years ago. I was about 15 then. He was petrified going to live behind his house after dark. And now I know for good reason. We were going back there, right? I like hiking, especially going out during the night. Right. Okay. Well, he heard some put the flashlight down and tie his shoe. I see something kind of pale about 3 feet tall, steeper in front of the light, and down this hill, it's 80 degrees, about 50 feet down. Uh-huh. And he's like, I'm like, you gotta get up over there. He's like, I've seen that before, that's why I don't want to come out here, let's go back. What exactly did you see? He's telling me it's a monster. I'm just something that's back there. I think this is a little brother or something. He was convinced of. And of course, I know it's not little brother because, he was out there at his friend's house, And now, she's had bad dreams about it. Because, it's in his backyard. And then I have the second story, my grandma's house, she's been renting it before she got rented it out. Right. We see Detroit, right? Yes. So, old middle capital of the world. So she got murdered there. My cousins are messing around with the Ouija board photo there now. So one night we were messing around with it. I fall asleep, let's back up here a little bit. Yeah. Let's consider the wisdom of you're in Detroit, the old murder capital. There was somebody murdered in the house where you are, and you're cranking out a Ouija board. I was skeptical, son, I used to be that way about ghosts and monsters. So, I know that this whole scenario is it's not very bright. I mean, you already know you're in a bad house. And you're bringing out a Ouija board. You're just asking for trouble. Yeah, so I fall asleep, You fell asleep? Yeah. I tell you something when I wake up. The Ouija board is like 3 inches off the floor. floating above the floor.
Yeah, from the corner, the field above that, floating above the Ouija board. Now, I was glad to put me out, and that is a really good question. Back on the show a few days ago, Home Talk Messenger 666.
Yeah.
I read you, if you don't mind me jamming something, or if you ever comes in, because you said he's correctly predicted 4 signs of the apocalypse.
Yes, I recall.
Okay, because I haven't heard those. I've heard of the supernova, and he said it was 100 some days before something happens. Yeah.
Well, why worry about that when I had a caller just a little while ago who said later today at 6 something or another, 6:57 p.m. Pacific time, there's a big giant comet's coming by, and it's going to cause massive electrical storms here on Earth and murder most electronic equipment.
Because he's having government to move it out of government and they're putting me on the moon. I don't believe you can do a comment.
Not if it's really coming, sir. I don't believe it either. I appreciate your call.
Yeah, have a good night.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Let's Washington, Georgia, alone.
Hello, Art. I saw a creature when I was camping in Pennsylvania. I don't know if you're familiar with that area at all.
What? I get a lot of reports from there.
Okay, great. Well, I was with a couple of friends of mine, and they saw it as well. And it had yellow eyes. It had almost like a human face with very long, very big, almost kind of wrinkly ears. It had hair on the fur on that as well. And on the face, it was just like all right on the face. And very large hands. With very skinny arms. And it also had, I noticed that its legs were, like the knees bent backwards, like hyperextending, in a way. And the most disturbing thing about it that I didn't hear you comment, that's so often the thing I think about, is its head movement. It kind of moved its head almost like a pigeon, and very kind of darty, very quick head movements. And
It's funny you say that because I just recently had somebody write me the same thing. They said it was, and they looked at it. It was moving its head sort of back and forth as if it was kind of trying to remember when was the best time to count.
And when I saw this, it was maybe about 2 feet away from me. I don't think it knew I was there, but I was sleeping in a Volkswagen van, and it was in a campground called Otter Lake in Pennsylvania, and there was a couple of hunters that were out fairly late about the fire, and it seemed to be very engaged in what they were doing. And it was paying a lot of attention to them, cheering its head around as the campers were, suddenly. And at first I thought it was another camper, and my eyes checked and I saw it was, I was absolutely terrified. And for the rest of the night, me and my buddy just, cowered in the van, and we even called the state police, and they acted like they didn't know where we were and thought we were in trouble.
How did they treat you?
Basically, they kind of laughed and said, well, we have no idea where that is. We wouldn't know how to get to you. We suggested stay in the car. And that was basically it. Not very helpful.
The usual reaction. I actually have had 2 sheriff's deputies from a nearby county here approach me not too long ago to tell me that between the 2 of them, they had seen 4 different upright dog-like creatures over the past couple of years, and their official thing they were supposed to say when they went out to check on the place was, I went there and I didn't see anything. But yeah, they will come privately, and you're going to say this is going to seem like a setup because I happen to have in my lap one that I got just last month from a deputy sheriff in Frederick County, Virginia, who actually saw what I was just telling you about. And when he described it, he said he originally got the borough's name, and then he noticed it had a filled up long hand claw with filled up looking claws that busted. He saw it bust a tree. And he thought everything would go up down and leave it, it would be okay. So he, but the thing was that it kind of looked like it was cooking constantly, which is exactly like what you said. And he said the claws, I will never forget, they were upturned monster claws on long hand claws. Remember, I said elongated claws was one of the things that they had. And this is from a deputy sheriff.
Wow. And another thing, I heard it, I don't know if it was related, but I heard a very weird call. It was almost like a two tones, like a scream and another call all within one. I don't know if that has been reported as well. If you've heard anything about that.
Yeah, I have, although you did the same story description in regard to kind of the Bigfoot calls too, you know, afraid to apply to the Bigfoot, so it's hard to say when you don't see the animal actually did it, but if you go to lookbucky.com, you can find where you email me, and if you want to just send me an email, report it, I'd really appreciate it, because it really,
Absolutely, I can probably get you the other two eyewitnesses or barometer earlier as well. I can try to get them to contribute as well.
Oh, I really can't respond to you. I won't get to you, and you probably got some. Hang back, get it over. Great. All right, there you go. Sassy Avenue, you're on the Yoga Island.
Hi, thank you every night. And tonight I was thinking, okay, this won't fit in with me, you know. But I had a really weird experience about 3 months ago, and I was driving home. I had gone to, I had to use my mom's clinic from Minneapolis to Madison, and I was driving home on one of my trips using my stuff. It was about 1 a.m. And I was in the middle of nowhere, so I wasn't in town or anything. And I was really tired because I've been driving all day. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eyes, I distinctly saw a person running out of the woods straight towards the side of my car. And I was going about 65. And I thought, oh, okay, I've been driving so I don't see anything. And all of a sudden, smack into this kind of my gosh. And I was terrified because it was just blackout, there was no traffic, there was nobody around, and there was nothing near me. I was just in the middle of nowhere. It came out of the woods.
Are you telling me you hit the thing? Or you hit you?
It ran into the car of my car.
What, any damage?
Yeah.
Yes.
My car was dented.
and it looked like a person, you said?
What?
It looked like a person, you said?
Yeah, like out of the corner of my eye, I was really tired, so I don't know what I thought, but I could have sworn it was on two legs. And it was probably about 2 feet tall or taller. And in the corner of my eye, I saw it, and what I thought I saw was a man wearing a gray sweatshirt, which was good.
Holy smokes. All right, listen, let's have the rest of the story. I don't want this hanging. So, obviously, you would stop your car, right?
I was too scared. I was in the middle of nowhere. And nobody laughed, and I didn't understand why someone would come out of the woods and run straight into my car when there's no traffic or anything. If they needed to cross the street, why would they wait until there was a car coming?
Right.
So I thought I should call the police. And I thought, what did I just see and what was that? And I was like, what do I say to the police? That somebody darted out of the woods and ran into my car? So I drove home, I was probably about 30, 40 minutes. And I was shaking. I was scared. I didn't know what had just happened to me. I got out to see if there was damage to my car, and I thought about contact, and I decided it had to have been an animal because there was nothing around there. And that's what it looked like. I was going back. And then the next day, I was in the papers and I looked through everything to see if anybody, if there were any dead bodies in the road, because that would make the whole call yours, and there wasn't. Nothing. So I don't know if it was an animal, I don't know
What would you ask?
Well, I would say that it's very common that when people spot a dog man and they're looking at it and it's moving quickly, their first impression will often be that it's somebody with a hoodie or with a gray fur jacket or something like that on until they can get a better look at it.
That's exactly true. It was like it was really terrifying. It was running very fast. Very fast. You know, like, and that's why I got this out of the person.
Because that's something else that I hear. Yep, for some reason, I've got a whole chapter on this in my new book. There are a certain number of people who can be very attracted to cars. They'll run straight into them, they'll run alongside them, they'll run right behind them. And it's very unlike normal animals, other than like farm dogs, that chase a car. But it seems like there's some other agenda, and it just terrifies people. And don't worry, you're not the only person. I've never had anybody really say that they just stopped when the
We'll be back. With our field, please call us from at 1-952-245-5278. That's 1-952. Call. Linda Godfrey is here. And we're talking about features. And we got a lady, Abby, on the phone, who was driving along at how many miles an hour, Abby, when this happened? Can you tell me?
Yeah, I was going about 65.
65. Okay, so you were going good and fast, and this creature, 6 feet in size, smacked into the side of your car. That's where we were, and Linda, that's incredible, and you're telling me, I don't want to say it's normal, but you've had other reports.
Yeah, it happens fairly frequently. And, it's just inexplicable as to why they would want to take such a chance with themselves. Most wild animals will try and just go across the road and get away from you. There are also those who cross in front of the car, almost as if they're sort of daring it to stop or playing a game with it too.
All right, caller, here's a question for you. Comes from the computer. It's a good one, too. There would have been, if it was that heavy, it hit that hard, how much damage to the car was there, and was there any blood or hair on the car?
No blood, no hair. I checked for blood because I was afraid that I'd hurt someone.
Obviously.
No blood at all. And again, there's this, you can see the dent on the driver's side of the car, the towards connecting to me. You can definitely see the dent, but it wasn't as big as I thought it was. It was, just like, well, it's an indentation, you can see it, but it wasn't like serious damage to the car or anything. But you can see it where it is.
I have had people send me a package of hair. I have a package of hair sitting right a few feet away from me that I just haven't been able to get it identified anywhere. But it was taken off the bumper of a similar incident.
Okay, well, Abby, thank you very much for the call. That's just absolutely amazing. All right, on the phone, you're on the air with Linda. Yes, hello.
Hello. Hi, okay. Hi, Linda. Hi, Art. I just want to tell you guys this story. It happened about 25 years ago with my children. My children would cross the road and go up in this guy's driveway and play all the time. Well, one evening, they came running in the house. They said, Mom, we heard a werewolf. I thought, well, now they've heard this weird dog, and I went back outside, and I could hear it too. And it wasn't like a regular dog. It was very, very odd. Well, I didn't know what to think about it. And, I was typical housewife, cooking and taking care of stuff. So I just went in the house, and it was just when the sun was going down in the second. And I lived kind of in the woods area, but the side had, like I said, a big long concrete driveway that my kids would play on. Well, that evening, though, I want you to know, God will stop me dead, but it is the truth. We had a big picture window in the house, and that guy was a doctor that lived up on this hill, and he would come home late in the night. Well, I heard a strange sound, and I went to that picture window, and I looked out in my yard, and I could see the car lights of him coming up the road. And right there, I always thought it was a joke, werewolf or a show. But I saw this thing that had a huge back. And when it turned its head around, it had a snout at least a foot and a half long on it. Wow. Its body was huge. I have never seen anything like that. And you mentioned about UFOs. There were some weird lights that we've seen just prior to me seeing it. It scared me so bad. I ran in the back room and locked the door.
Instead of made a sound, can you describe that sound?
Well, sort of like a weird dog screaming, sort of like that. I'm not really sure exactly how to describe it. Did it have a relationship to that doctor?
Okay, hold on a second. Let me go ahead.
When you saying, did it have a relationship to that doctor? I wasn't quite sure. When you're saying that the doctor transformed into this, or it was just outside when the doctor was serving home, or?
It was just outside when he was coming in. This guy came in late in the evening because he was like an emergency room doctor, and he worked late. And I had been staying up a little bit later. I guess this was close to midnight, maybe around that time. But I never expected anything. I just thought, well, there he comes. But the way the car drove in where the lights came into my yard, see. And I did not see anything else on, but I did see it moved its body, and it had huge shoulders. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And it had to be at least maybe 6 foot tall, maybe, but its back was so large. When it turned its head, now, I want you to know, I thought all that stuff was a joke. And I never believed in anything like werewolves. When I grew up, I'm an older lady, and I watched all those horror films years ago, and I just thought that type of stuff was a joke. But when I saw that, and that freaked me out so much, like I say, I read.
Well, that's where the jokes stop. When you actually have an experience like that, the jokes stop and become different.
That's really true. And I have such a great respect for all the people who come forward and share their stories. And I would love also if you'd like to send this one to me. I don't mind giving my email to lindagodfrey99@gmail.com, or you can go to lindagodfrey.com and find the link to send me that. But I would really love to have that report.
We've had actually a pretty good reports for Italian tonight. They've been very good.
I agree, yeah, and I mean, especially when I'm sitting there, I can't get over the man talking about the head movement, and then I can't have one out because it's very, very sweet. But yeah, I was afraid she was going to say that the doctor changed into the preacher. But it's interesting because again, I have gotten some transformation type of experiences, which I usually don't, and enough for me to kind of devote a whole chapter to in my forthcoming book.
Can you relate one of those? I was that stuff of the movies, but you have witnesses who've seen humans transform into something else?
Yes, either that or that they've seen what is obviously a human, part wolf, part human type of thing. And yeah, really, really the strength of one woman who, she and her boyfriend were walking through a Los Angeles park about dusk, and there weren't many people in the park at that time, and there's a jogger coming toward them, and it ran right straight up to them, and she felt actually kind of nervous, like she was trying to make her boyfriend move farther out of the way from this jogger. There was something about him, and he got closer, and it was a human body in a jogger suit, but with a complete wolf head, and it was breathing hard enough that she could see it wasn't like a mask or, they were over the head type of werewolf costume. And it just looked at them and then leaped completely over a park bench and ran down towards the roof, where there was sort of a tunnel under the bridge sort of thing.
Okay, for a lady who started out the show by saying werewolves aren't real, it seems to me like you're pinning down werewolves as being real. If I saw a human transform into a wolf-like creature, particularly a really big one, maybe red eyes, it's a werewolf. It's a werewolf. I don't know what it is. I don't want to know. We'll be back. I'm going to update as my guest for a landline number, area code 992-5-5278. Skype at MITD51 or internationally MITD55. And here is a description of something in Minnesota of what they claimed was a sound of a werewolf. At first, it sounded like a woman coughing, then turned into gagging and transmuted into a dog-like howling and very loud, horrifying howl. Couldn't sleep right for months from Minnesota.
I have to say, I've also heard big things described the same way as that. I like to ask people if they actually saw the creature making the sound, because it's the only way to really relate it to it. And several times when people have actually observed it making the sound, what they've described is more like a very blue-pitched growl, kind of like a wolf actually. Almost if they had a cappuccino maker, and it would kind of be this up and down tone, like an octave in between, only really showing in a much lower and higher octave. Very scary thing that sounded like nothing I'd ever heard. And I had very unrelated people, this is completely unpublished, and they would make the exact same sound for me, so I have them recorded. But yeah. But yet, you don't know. If you don't really see the creature, that creature making that sound, unfortunately, you can't say for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to describe. I don't want to see that creature. Let's see what we get from the line. First time caller line, you are on the air with John Steele. Hey, nice to talk to you. Thank you. Where are you, sir?
I'm in Monroe, Wisconsin.
Where? I'm sorry.
Monroe,
Wisconsin. Okay.
Yeah, back before the last year, I was about 18 years old, and we lived on a farm in Gallatin and Salisbury, Wisconsin. Kind of a hilly farmland with small woods here and there. And my father and uncle shared a driveway. We had farms on different sides of the valley. And I figured I was maybe 1,000 yards to my Uncle Paul's house.
Right.
And one night I was out playing in the yard, let's say 10 years old. I could have swore what I saw was a man with wings who was down behind the fence of my Uncle Paul's house.
A man with wings.
Yes, a man with wings. That was basically the silhouette. And it was huge. I mean, looking back on it now, I could easily say it was 7, 8 feet tall, according to the size of my uncle's clubhouse. And I ran over and told my dad, he just got done milking. He was eating with his teeth. He was tired. Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. But I told my mom, and she went out and looked, so of course she didn't see anything. The next morning, my uncle called us. Where's Mother F3? She was listening in the tiny litter of pigs.
Wow.
And my mom said, well, my dad doesn't believe me at all, but my mom said, well, are you sure it wasn't a hawk or something like that? I said, Mom, a hawk would stay off the litter of pigs.
Nor would it be 8 feet.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it literally covered a beautiful third of the wall of the edge of the hawk. Unbelievable.
Well,
I couldn't see any details, but like I said, it was definitely silhouette of a man with wings. I couldn't believe it. And I think it was something, I don't know how paranormal it is, but I think it's something biological. If he was missing windows, something from another world, that's possible, but let me ask you one thing. Isn't there a nuclear plant near you? Monroe? No, that's another Monroe? 100 miles away, yeah. Yeah. Well, this is good. You know, there are other sightings of men with wings. Yeah, and we're baffled by them. Oh, well, everything was interesting. Probably 2 or 3 years later, my mom got interested in things like this. And she got to Fate magazine. And lo and behold, 2 or 3 years later, there I read about sightings like this, or, things chasing cars. So I was really surprised. It was almost verifying what I was doing.
All right.
I read one of my articles.
Okay. Houston Rockies, you're on the air with John A. Keel. Hello.
Hello,
That's you.
Okay, I'd like to tell about a sighting that happened in Norfolk, Virginia.
Go right ahead.
Okay, me and my friends were hanging out in the woods, like we went out there to party. This was like only woods in Norfolk, and it was really and stuff. And I mean, a bunch of us did like some drugs and stuff. But I was
right away that doesn't answer.
I know, yeah, right. So we were just hanging out, and I started to lose myself from the rest of the group, and we were all hanging out like on this breakfast. There was like 6 or 7 of us, and I started to just stare off into the blank empty face. That's just what I felt like doing because I was on drugs. And
when we asked which drugs,
well, we were just doing the pot and stuff like that.
All right. Okay.
And I just started to stare off in his face, and then these 2 red eyes looking at me in the darkness, and I was like, oh man, that's really freaky.
Yeah.
Like I felt like Satan in charge or something. I was like really terrified. So I just like put over to my friend, and when I looked and it was gone, I was like, that was really creepy.
Well, yes, I do know, and I don't, as I said earlier, I don't like red eyes. Red eyes are not good. Caller line, you're on the air with John A. Keel. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I guess sort of a question, I guess, tonight. When I was about 13 years old, I was going to sleep in my bedroom. And, I think I might have actually dozed off. I woke up and I thought I saw a really huge dark figure in my room. And I actually got out of my bed and I walked across the room and grabbed me and it made this ungodly noise and I screamed at the top of my lungs and everybody in my house ran in my room and wondering why I was screaming and they thought that somebody broke in or something.
You're sure you weren't having a nightmare?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, I was standing in the middle of the room and it was very real. I couldn't sleep for about a week. I mean, it really still freaks me out to this day. About a year later, my sister was murdered. Like the day she died, actually, my mother was working in her office. And the front window of her office, like a dog just flew right into it and died. So I don't know if those things could possibly be connected, but because of those, incidents, I spent many nights in cemeteries and places like that. So I thought I would call. I never really knew anything about the moth man crossing until like this week. I saw some movie stuff on TV. I really didn't know what it was about, so I started listening to your show. So I'm curious.
Well, we live in a really strange world, sir. Thank you very much. On the day my father died, a bat landed on our porch and just stayed there. I mean, this is a sunny summer desert hot day. And the day my father died, which was not long ago, a bat landed and just stayed. We finally removed him by hand and put him in a shaded place, and he flew off at night. Such thing has never happened before. Landed on our porches. So we live in a strange world, don't we, John?
Yes, we have a whole category for this kind of thing. They're called bedroom invaders. It's a lot more common than you would think. People wake up and see something in their bedroom.
That's right.
Very often you see a man in a plaid shirt. You didn't see any sign of what he was wearing.
No, you just said dark. Yeah, and I have a zillion reports like that, John. Just one after another. Some people call them shadow people. Well, you're on the air with John A. Keel. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question, I guess, for your answers for tonight.
All right.
When I was about 13 years old, I was going to sleep in my bedroom, and I think I might have actually dozed off. I woke up and I thought I saw a really huge dark figure in my room, and I actually got out of my bed and I walked across the room, and it grabbed me and it made this ungodly noise, and I screamed at the top of my lungs. Everybody in my house ran into my room and, wondering why I was screaming, and they were thought that somebody broke in or something.
You're sure you weren't having a nightmare?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, I was standing in the middle of the room, and it's very real. I couldn't sleep for about a week. I mean, it's really, still freaks me out to this day. And about a year later, my sister was murdered. Like the day she died, actually, my mother was working in, she worked in her office, and like the front window of her office, like a dog just flew right into it and died. Like, I don't know if those things could possibly be connected, but because of those, incidents, I spent many nights in cemeteries and places like that. So I thought I would call. I never really knew anything about the moth man crossing until like this week. I saw some movie stuff on TV. I really didn't know what it was about, so I started listening to your show. So kind of curious.
Well, we live in a really strange world, sir.
Barbell is taking calls on the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. That's 702-727-1295. First-time callers can reach our bell at 702-727-1222. 702-727-1222. Now, here again, Art Bell.
Here once again I am. Here's a little tool for you. Dear Art, this evening on Los Angeles News, there was a report from Northridge, the place where the earthquake was. Several pet dogs were basically skinned, all their hair pulled out, and reproductive organs removed and taken. No suspect yet. Somebody is judging satanic worshippers. Great. And that leads very nicely into this deity. You're going to love this. It is from the state of Washington. And I've got some response to it since I read it several nights ago. Dear Miss Bell, please, sir, you must listen to me.
I have met a vampire on the internet. And for the last few days now, I've been afraid to sleep because of what might happen to me in my dreams. It appears this vampire is using the net as a way to meet its victims. It also appears this particular vampire doesn't drink blood, but It does try to seduce you so it can steal your body for one of its demonic friends. On the night this all happened, I was so scared that I locked up the house, got out a white bar of soap, and marked all my windows with crosses. Here is a transcript of what occurred on the internet. It is 2 pages and double typed, so I'll be able to get through it here quickly. I was in this chat room, a kind of cyber singles bar located on the web. I was contacted by what I believe to be a female who introduced herself as Claudia. She told me she was a vampire, asked me if I wanted to chat. First, I thought it was some kind of stupid joke, so I agreed to chat. She sent me a description of herself. Here we go, right? Told me she liked to dress up in black skin-tight spandex bodysuits with black knee-high, high-heeled leather boots and black leather gloves. She described herself as looking as if she was 17. Actually, she was much older. She said she had white, almost pale-colored skin, long dark hair, big brown eyes, long slender legs, and a small oval face. Sounds cute, huh? I asked her if she was going to suck my blood or something, and she told me real vampires don't do that. She said that if I wanted her, I mean really wanted her, that I would give her my soul. I said, okay. She said that tonight she would come to me in my dreams, and that tonight I would be a king. She also told me if I wanted it, that she could come to me in any form, male or female. I told her I loved women and that she would do just fine. She said that tonight I would journey to the other world. She said that tonight I'd be king. Tomorrow I would be one of them. She told me the land of the dead and the world of dreams are one and the same. I was then told to remove any religious symbols or pictures in Christian Bibles from my room. I was even told that the sex could be 10 times better if I would just take the time to break an egg into a small bowl and then urinate on it. I was told I should sprinkle some urine on my feet before I went to bed at night. Yuck. I was told that the bowl was supposed to be placed at the foot of my bed. The egg and urine were supposed to be some kind of offering. I was told the offering was being made to Tutsamen, whoever that is, Tutsamen. She then promised me the best sex I'd ever had. She told me my orgasm would last forever, that when I awoke, I'd be in another world, a world of magic and dreams. She told me that this new world was also known as the etheric plane. She told me when she came for me, my soul would leave my body. She said that once I was in her arms, she'd break the fine silver cord attached to the top of my head, and that my body would be given to another, someone much stronger. Finally, she said that the other name for this person, this Tutsamen, was the soul sucker. That's it. Then I received these. I remember a few shows ago when you read facts on the air, said that it was from someone who said they'd met a vampire on the internet somewhere on IRC. Well, I'll tell you, I've been hunting for her because I want to ask her some questions. And I won't do anything to get myself, quote, in trouble, end quote, right? Believe me. Well, that guy said her name was Claudia. And I went into a vampire room and asked someone if they'd seen her. They have vampire rooms? Anyway, he said he spoke to her yesterday. Maybe it's the same Claudia or not. But I think it is. I'll keep you posted. By the way, that night when you read the facts, I really couldn't and didn't want to sleep. It was kind of frightening to me. And then this. Your listener who sent the account of the internet vampire is indeed doomed. This particular vampire is an incubus or succubus, a sexual predator who steals souls from unknowing individuals, draining them like the classic vampire. Usually, they can be warded off with any religious symbol as long as the faith of the user is strong. In other words, a cross won't work if you don't believe in God. I hope Dominique in Washington as well. So there you've got it. The old, the ancient, the occult moves to the new, the amazing, the enveloping internet. Truly a marriage made in hell. I read the internet vampire story a few moments ago, and now I have received this. Listen now. Arthur, I've been away for some time now, but I returned tonight to hear you speaking of Claudia and her exploits on the internet's IRC channels. I fear the harm has already been done, but I sincerely hope if you read this to your audience, it will help to curb some of what is certain to occur. Our friend Claudia is indeed an immortal. I think she calls herself a vampire simply because there are so many people, especially on the internet, who are fascinated with vampires. Now, see, I didn't know that. She uses Claudia because that is the name of the child vampire in Anne Rice's novel, Interview with a Vampire, which has been recently brought to life in the form of a movie. I just have to say to all of those people who have heard your show that what Claudia and her type are doing is purely evil. And by reading that letter, not only have thousands of victims been lured to the vampire rooms on the internet, but many, many of Claudia's kind are now aware of the grand pool of victims present there as well. Indeed, as you have undoubtedly surmised, there are a great deal of immortals who listen to your show. Yes, I know that. Please, to all those listening, do not fall victim. You will lose your soul. As some callers have previously stated, religious symbols will protect the faithful. However, there are immortal predators that are not affected by that sort of thing. So there you have it. And then this art, vampires on the internet. Well, what do I say? Superstition lives, eh? Maybe you should open a vampire line. Matt in Portland. Matt, you're a genius. Yes, a vampire line. I have never talked to a vampire. Now I've got a computer sitting right here. I have to go up there and take a look and see if there are vampire rooms. I've never seen one. Well, anyway, I hereby and officially, and I will screen the calls. I'm warning you ahead of time. When I have special function lines, I screen my calls. Yes, a vampire line. Are there really any vampires out there? Now, you know, this is a great promo for the show that I'm going to be doing Sunday, because I'm going to be doing the first program I've ever done on Dreamland on vampires. Konstantinos is going to be my guest, author of Vampires, the Occult Truth. And you can darn well bet I will save this story, internet story, for Konstantinos. And we're going to do a show about vampires. But in the meantime, I thought tonight that Matt here in Portland is dead on money. Let us do it. Let us open a vampire line. Only vampires, real vampires. Anybody caught joking around, if I can recognize your voice, and after all the years of doing this, I'm getting very good. Anybody joking around will be ejected for all time, eternal, on this program. So unless you're a serious vampire, don't you call this line. Only real vampires. Serious vampires. Area code 702-727-1222. That is, as of this moment, my vampire line. 702-727-1222. Agents, soul suckers. Are they real? Apparently, they are on the internet. Let us see what we've got here on my vampire line. You are on the air.
Good morning, Art. This is Wade.
Wade.
For Florence,
Sarasota.
WKXY.
Yes.
My policy began March 6, 1996 in New Orleans, and at a place called the Dungeon.
That's where you met somebody, I take it?
Just the most amazing place, most amazing thing that ever happened to me.
What was it? Tell us.
Walked in, beautiful gal, white skin, black lips, dark eyes, dark hair, and it was, 4 flights up, and it was the most amazing club I've ever been into, and things started to happen from there. And it's been,
all right, I know obviously it don't get into anything pornographic.
Of course.
But I mean, what happened to you?
A feeling of, euphoria is the only thing I can say.
Euphoria, yeah.
It's something that was just totally beyond anything I had ever expected. I'm 42.
Were you seduced?
Absolutely.
Did you promise your soul in return for this seduction?
No. It was just one thing one thing led to another, and I have witnesses, and it's just.
Well, you're saying a lot of things without saying anything. I want you to tell me what happened.
It was rather personal, and without getting pornographic, rather personal. It's just
All right, well, look, from what I read, this letter that I read from the internet, it seemed quite clear that the seduction was occurring to obtain that person's soul. And that was the trade-off.
I don't have a soul. I had a soul up to March 6th.
Oh, so you're saying
something happened.
You're saying you have lost your soul.
Something has happened. I've been like in a bad limbo, a bad karma situation. It's just, but at the same time, it's the most pleasurable thing that you can imagine.
That's exactly what this other person said. Are you not concerned for your soul?
Being a Christian, as I have been my whole life,
Nah. He says he's lost his soul and he's not concerned. He's lost his soul and he's not concerned. Did you hear that?
This just from failure. I wanted to hear this I'm getting letters from my listeners, they can't figure me out. Well, tonight I would say meet you. We'll be right back. This is Northbound is taking calls on the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. That's 702-727-1295. First side callers can reach our bell at 702-727-1222. 702-727-1222. Now, here again, Art Bell. Here I am. I love this thing.
Takes me back to my childhood. Anyway, check this out, folks, and now I'm going to need your help. Yes, I do have another claiming to be vampire on the line here. I'm only open a vampire-only line, 702-727-1222. Vampire Coach. And then I want to hear from Nashville because, dear Art, did you hear about the alien in the Nashville area? Apparently, a man heard some commotion outside his house, and when he went outside, he saw what he guessed was an alien. It ripped up his porch and bit his dog. The man appeared on the local news here in Nashville and declared he would take a lie detector test if necessary. I tell you more, I'm watching the tail end of the news reports. I can't find it in a paper somewhere in Nashville. Really heard about it. What about it, Nashville? What's going on? Ripped up his porch, bit his dog. So east of the Rockies, if anybody can help us with this story, we'll follow up. So the east of the Rockies line is 1-800-825-5033. 1-800-825-5033. And now, to my vampire line, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
I can give you several bits of proof. I tell you the industry that I'm in right now. I'm in the telemarketing industry, and I touch base with somewhat vampire-like hundreds of people every day. Bob Keith, who's a well-known author, is a personal friend of mine.
All right. Well, I don't want to identify you too closely. You're telling us you really are a vampire.
I really am a vampire.
All right. First of all,
let me clear up a couple of things, though.
Please. In other words, what is a vampire? So we all might understand. I read this. You read the facts I read, I take it, on the internet field?
I'm afraid that I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry you didn't hear that. All right. Well, anyway, go ahead.
And first of all, I have the ability to suck blood through veins that I naturally have. However, I don't need to do that as far as things like garlic, other things like that, sunshine. That's all a bunch of BS.
Yeah, I suspected that.
It doesn't hurt you at all.
It doesn't hurt.
As far as super strength and super adrenaline, that's absolutely true.
How about crosses and violence?
It actually has, it depends on your inner self and your own belief and your own faith and your level, within the cult. But actually, that shouldn't be too much of a hindrance either.
Are you in what you would call a cult?
I'm not in a cult. But I will say this. There are certain projections for my existence that do affect on a cosmic level sometimes different events that unfold as a direct result of situations that have been imposed on me in a negative manner. Negative energy feeds on negative energy. And the darker and the deeper the negative energy is, the more power that comes out of that negative energy.
When a vampire takes from another, is a vampire taking the soul of that, or what we know to be, or think of us as a soul?
As a vampire, I can define for you the actual definition of a soul. Every living thing on the planet is surrounded by an electromagnetic field.
I believe that.
When you die, that electromagnetic field is released from your vessel. Housed within that energy is the essence of your soul.
Your essence.
Whether you're recycled into the vast electromagnetic fields created by the core of the Earth, whether you escape the Earth and you go to the solar system, the center of electromagnetic energy in our solar system, and you're not going to believe this, but this is true. Jupiter has a great effect in this realm.
Well, what we're asking here, obviously, is, and I appreciate that definition. I don't necessarily disbelieve that. But are you able to interfere with that transition
and in effect take that energy or that essence from a person.
Absolutely, 100%. You can actually feed on this energy. It is a massive energy. It affects computer systems. It affects electrical circuitry. It affects the photoelectric cells in streetlights. It affects psychological behavior in humans.
Do you regard yourself as evil? You mentioned darkness. The darkness. Evil.
If you walk out into a dark pasture and you don't feel afraid,
Yes.
does that make you evil because you're surrounded by darkness and you feel comfortable?
I'm not sure how to answer that. So you're saying it's subjective.
Absolutely.
All right, I really appreciate your call. Thank you. And that gives me something to think about. It is subjective. Evil is subjective, is it? Evil subjective. I never thought so. I thought evil was a real, tangible thing. But I can understand that those who are involved in it, if taking of the essence of another makes you more powerful or immortal, then from his point of view, it is a subjective thing. So he wouldn't likely call it, or a vampire would not likely call it evil, would they? Interesting. All right, listen, my wife, having had a nap, is now up on the internet and trying to help me in my search for a vampire. And so actually she's on AOL in the chat room, and here's the way you get there. You go on America Online, and she will be using my name. That's how you'll know it's her. She'll be using the name Artbell. So you go on America Online, just go hit keyword at the top of the screen and type in Artbell, ARTBELL. That'll take you, you'll see a little photograph of me, and then you'll see something that'll say the grassy knoll chat room. Check that, and you will go in there, and there she will be, and she will be searching for vampires in there. Meanwhile, we will continue searching for vampires. That last one that I had on had a ring of some truth to it. So the vampire line remains open at area code. What other radio show ever does anything like this? Area code 702-727-1222. Vampires only, real ones too. Now, east of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, Art, this is Robert Malloy.
Hello, Robert.
I need to,
That's Ann Rice country.
yeah. Let's say something like some of these people calling themselves vampires. Or the vampire can't take the soul unless you're willing to give it to them.
I believe that's right, yes.
That's exactly true. Yes, folklore is right.
Did you hear the man, though, who called earlier and said that he had been in a certain club there in New Orleans, as a matter of fact?
That's what I'm going to tell you about. I had my bachelor party there.
You did.
There was 25 of us who, in the condition we were in, could have took the soul if they wanted it.
In other words, if she'd been pretty enough, and she would have been after that many beers.
Oh, that's right, pal. They could have just grabbed up a bunch of us in a heartbeat.
You'd have taken one look at her, you'd have said, yes! And she'd have said, soul, and you'd have said, yes, sure!
There's not even 4 floors to the place. It's a little small place on a corner. It's not big enough to be something like that. A bunch of strange people hang out there.
No, wait a minute. This is no rap on the place. This is simply where he met that person, that's all.
Well, I don't believe that for a heartbeat. I mean, I go down there, I live here, I go to the corner all the time.
So you're trying to tell me you do think it's a place?
No, they could. It's not for vampires who use it.
No.
They wouldn't put it on.
Well, yeah, but you see, a vampire really could be anywhere. A vampire could be on the internet. A vampire could be in a club. A vampire could be somebody you'd meet in the grocery store, for all I know.
It's a voodoo culture. Vampire,
I know it is.
Like in our voodoo.
I know it is.
Because we're protected by that power. The green around the place, the colors of it. Now, this is where zombies come from, or people are put under spells to do certain things. Not really for.
Do you believe that about New Orleans? I mean, is it that a mystical place?
It is for some people. A lot of people want to believe that. It draws a lot of tourists because of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but do you believe it? It's not like it used to be.
Now it's just a real big party now. And we're waiting for you to come here.
Well, I'm going to be doing that.
You said you're gonna come down from Monroe one of these days. You got
And I'm going to, yes, I'm going to. But you need to understand, they chained me here.
We're leaving.
I'm chained to my chair.
Well, one day I'm gonna come out that way when I'm heading back to Hawaii to visit the relatives, and we're gonna stop by around your area.
Then I also believe that when I die, they're going to lop off my head using new technology, mount me in a box, put me in front of a microphone, and make me talk forever. Thanks for the call, sir.
Okay, all right.
First time caller line, no, vampire line, you're on the air.
Oh, I could take listening to those ones that were saying that they were vampires. I don't know what they are, but where was the blood?
Are you a vampire?
I was. I mean, what?
Well,
I was
so you're a former vampire?
I was rated on a fear level. I probably still am, but I'm
All right.
not done that.
All right. After you didn't like what they said, let's hear what you got to say. What is a vampire?
Yes.
Are you a seducer?
No, it's not about sex. It's not about.
Well, no, but a seduction is required for a, at least as I understand it. I read this thing on the internet, and she promised sex, but used that only to seduce him into saying he would give up his soul.
It's the seduction business. No, that's like somebody else that Near Moore mentioned the incubus.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an entirely different level of being. A vampire wants blood, but all has happened on the astral plane.
All right, slow up. Did you actually?
I have had blood on this plane, yes, and I've had blood, a lot of blood on the astral plane.
Human blood?
Oh, yeah.
And what is it that it does?
What does the blood do? Well, it's on the astral plane, it's like flying out to the stars.
All right, forget the astral plane, because I don't know.
That's where it starts, but eventually it starts to bleed through. I mean, you just get taken over. You realize that you've got to do it in the physical, and that's what you start seeking.
Yes, I understand. And so then you actually seek out people. I mean,
yes, and the power does, I don't call myself a power, but the more timid amongst us will do it by asking and finding people that want to give your blood. But there are those that enjoy taking it by force.
Now, all right, let me stop you there. There's a lot of jokes about guys who go up to women on the street, and say, hey, let's have sex, right? Usually it gets them a slap in the face. I would think going up to somebody, or even in a social circumstance, and saying something like, hey, how about a little blood? Just wouldn't go over. I mean, how do you get somebody to agree to that?
Well, there's like a mutual attraction, or on some levels you can see who you can sense who's into that.
So then there is an element. You say not seduction, but
It has nothing to do with that.
I understand, but it's a kind of a seduction, though, isn't it?
I won't call it seduction. Some people are just out there wanting to give their blood, but I've also had blood from people that didn't know that. I'm a nurse. So I was, it's sort of an optimal place to get fresh blood.
Oh my goodness. I hadn't thought of that aspect of it.
Oh, yes, there's many ways when you get down.
In other words, if you're really in need, you just order off the plane of whole. Typo, whatever.
If I would order it out, I would get it.
Oh,
yeah.
And, all right.
Obviously, I won't keep my name on it.
Don't do that. I wouldn't do that.
There's a lot of vampires in the Saltburn field. There's a lot of vampires who are straight shift, so third shift, day shift, whatever you want to call it.
I never thought of that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in movies about vampires, they will show vampires going out and, let's see, I think I saw the Anne Rice movie, Interview with a Vampire, and really the vampire didn't want to kill people. So the vampire would go out and first take the blood of rats, take the blood of animals, small animals, that kind of thing. But inevitably was drawn to human blood.
Yeah, I've never had animal blood.
You started off mainlining humans, huh?
Yeah, human blood.
And what do you think that you gained from that, and what did you lose?
Well, it's just a form of nourishment, it really is. And it came to the point where I felt like the only thing I wanted to live on was blood. I couldn't understand to eat food.
Wow. And for how long in your life did this go on?
Intensely, no more than 5.
5 years.
Yeah, but you know what, the age thing, that really put a cramp in my style. That was that was kind of the beginning of the end. That's when I just started to get, became so difficult.
No, I'm not really certain about this. I was a medic in the Air Force, but the ingestion of blood is not the same, or is it, as the commingling of blood, which is required to transmit the AIDS virus? Or is it possible that if you were to consume blood with the AIDS virus, as it passed through your digestive system, it would infect you? Do you know?
I can take the test because here's the thing. What about your mouth where you can have
Small cuts.
a gum